Hi, everybody. Welcome to TV Guide Live. I'm Alex Zalbin, managing editor for TVGuide.com. I'm joined today by one of our awesome editors, Liam Matthews. Liam is our Stranger Things expert. So you have a bunch of waffles with you today?
Yeah, and chocolate pudding. It's all stashed.
It's all stashed under the desk.
Yeah, I got it put away in a cabinet back here.
We're gonna eat it. Very exciting. Guys, we're excited because Netflix finally has officially announced there's going to be a second season of Stranger Things. We're going to break down everything we know about it, but we're also going to be spoiling the heck out of season 1. So put up a spoiler alert excuse me, right now. If you haven't watched the first season of Stranger Things, please do. It's awesome, but otherwise turn away, come back to the video in, 8 hours, something like that. Also, if you guys have questions, we're going to be taking them throughout the show. You can hit us up on facebook.com/tvguide or on Twitter, #TVGLive. As mentioned, we'll get to your questions, what you guys want to know, what you want to see in Strange Things Season 2 throughout the show. But let's get into it. Let's talk about what we know. Now, you are a prognosticator, Liam.
Yeah.
Because Monday, you put up an article on tvguide.com saying, here's why we haven't gotten an announcement yet of Stranger Things. And then 2 days later, Netflix heard you.
Yeah, they read my article.
So what's going on here? What do we know about Stranger Things, and why did it take so long to get a pickup?
Well, Netflix just sometimes they take a long time to renew shows. Like they took a long time to renew Jessica Jones and Master of None, which they took like 3 months to renew Master of None. But so this was actually pretty quick in terms of only a month, or about 6 weeks. Since the premiere of Stranger Things. But
well, let's talk about what we know. So they released a teaser. There's no footage or anything like that. But we did get a ton of information in it. Regardless, can you tell us what we learned from this teaser?
We learned that there will be 9 episodes, one more than last season, and the titles of those episodes, or the chapter titles, if you will. So those titles are Mad Max, The Boy Who Came Back to Life, The Pumpkin Patch, The Palace, The Storm, The Pollywog, The Secret Cabin, The Brain, and The Lost Brother.
And the other thing we learned, it's going to be in the fall of 1984. The last one kicked off, I want to say November 3rd, 1983, something like that.
Yeah.
And this one is going to be in the fall. I think for the Pumpkin Patch, we can probably tell it's going to be around Halloween, which is pretty awesome for a horror show. But what else do we know from these titles? What else can we tell, or what are you expecting?
Yeah, I think, well, The Boy Who Came Back to Life, that's Will. That's Will Byers. The Pollywog, we just learned, is a sailor who has never been south of the equator.
Right. If it's with an I, it's the amphibian, which seems to suggest what Will coughed up at the end of last season. But the Y, we were speculating that it might be somebody who hasn't been to the Upside Down.
Right.
That'll be interesting. The other thing we were talking about with The Boy Who Came Back to Life, which I think is kind of fascinating, is we don't know a lot about Will at this point.
That's right.
We saw him at the beginning of the first season and the end of the first season, but that's it. So do you think a lot of the second season is going to be learning about Will?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot about Will. I think it's going to be a lot really the mystery is what is going on in the lab, so we're going to have to learn more about that. And yeah, but it's hard to predict exactly what characters we'll be focusing on.
Well, there's going to be 4 new characters.
There's going to be 4 new characters.
We don't know anything about them, but they'll be showing up. The other thing that we know, just real quick before we move on, is that the Duffer Brothers who created the show said that versus the Stephen King, Steven Spielberg influence of the first season, this is going to be more influenced by James Cameron.
Yeah.
What do they mean by that?
Well, they just mean not so much that it's going to feel like a James Cameron movie, but just that they're trying to make a great sequel. I think they're thinking of season 2 of Stranger Things not really as so much as second season, but as a sequel.
So you think they're saying like an Aliens, Terminator 2, amping up what happens?
Yeah, because like those are both sequels that are better than the original.
Yeah, my little movie nerdiness when I heard that was, if you're going 1984, that's when Terminator came out, so that's before all of that James Cameron stuff. So I was like, excuse me, guys, it's a little too early for that.
Yeah, and the other thing with 1984 is that was the year that Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom came out, which I think they've compared it to that too, which I think is a very apt comparison if they're going to go, stranger and darker like they said they were. Temple of Doom certainly took all those things from Raiders of the Lost Ark and basically necessitated the invention of the PG-13 rating.
That was mostly to keep people away from Short Round. They didn't want
Yeah,
it
that's
to be
true.
a bad influence. Guys, we want to get your questions. Facebook.com/TV Guide or on Twitter, #TVG Live. Let's get to one of them now. Jim on Twitter asks, what would you want to happen in season 2 of Stranger Things? Well, so we've talked about a couple of things, but what's your number one thing? What's the thing you have to see out of season 2?
I gotta find out what they're doing in that lab. Like, who knows? Like, is this a government project? Like, how far up does this go? Does the president know about this? Is this a Star Wars initiative? Is Ronald Reagan involved in this somehow? I want to see more of Dr. Brenner. I want to see. I want to know what the Upside Down is. Like, how did this happen? You know?
Yeah, I just got to know, are they going to keep going with Eggo waffles, or is there going to be a new food stuff they're obsessed with?
Yeah,
Because-
I'm like Crystal Pepsi, maybe.
Oh, there you go. That would be awesome.
Or
That would be
was
so
that
cool.
then, or was that later?
Whatever you do, if you're on the internet, don't fact check us. All right,
New
let's,
Coke, Crystal Pepsi, whatever.
all right, let's move on. This is, strangely enough, a very big question about season 2. It's pretty much the only thing people have been talking about for months. We're, of course, talking about Barb.
Yeah, shout out to Barb.
Barb, my homie Barb, pour out some pool water for
Yeah.
Barb. The internet has been obsessed with her for months, to the point that we've now had a Barb backlash, I think, in the past couple of weeks.
Like, Barb's not that great, guys. Shut up.
She was good. She was a fun character. But do you think, does Barb actually need to return for season 2? And what would happen if she does?
No, she doesn't need to return. She was a peripheral character anyway. And, she was great, but I think her part of the story is done. I'm sure she'll probably be mentioned because, that was sort of like no one really cared that Barb was missing, so they have to kind of resolve that. But no, I don't think she needs to come back, and I don't think she will come back.
Yeah, in fact, I think if they picked up with Barb, if she did return in any way other than a mention, people would call fan service and be pissed off about it. So I do think a mention is appropriate. Let's give her her due, but then let's move on.
Maybe Barb's funeral.
Oh, a year later.
A year later.
That would be kind of insulting
the
in its own
anniversary.
way. Oh, there we
An
go.
anniversary.
Yeah, a Barb visual. There we go. She could get a statue at the town square,
Yeah.
just raising her fist like that.
Just like this.
A rumph.
Yeah.
All right, well,
But
probably...
she's yeah. Are we going to talk about this? That she
Oh,
got
sure.
cast on, the actress who plays her, Shannon Purser, she got cast on Riverdale.
Mm-hmm.
That's the other thing. Like, she got another job. She doesn't need Stranger Things
She's
anymore.
fine.
She's moving on to bigger and better, maybe not bigger and better.
Sideways.
But full-time employment, really, so.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about two things that I think do have to appear, 11 and the monster.
Totally.
Interestingly, the Duffer Brothers did an interview with Entertainment Weekly where they talked very little about season 2, but they put a question mark on 11 returning, and I think therefore the monster also. What do you think? Do they have to be in the new series?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's 11's story. You can't have a cliffhanger of a guy putting Eggo waffles in a box like for her to come find and then not show her. I mean, come on. It's she's gonna show. She has to come back. I mean, there are too many unanswered questions, and I mean, if Dr. Brenner is still alive, narratively he only exists in relation to 11. So she's gonna come back.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And also, if we go back to the James Cameron of it all, who is the Lyndall Hamilton, who is the Ellen Ripley of this show, it's 11.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to bring her back in because she is the ultimate badass on the show.
Yeah, they were just evading. They just didn't want to give
Well,
too
the
much
second
away.
thing with the monster, the reason I don't know if that specific monster will come
Right.
back, but there was a little bit of a tease that happened. In case people missed it, can you remind them what happened? towards the
Yeah,
end?
there were some other eggs in the Upside Down, right? Wasn't that they found when Winona Ryder, I forgot her
Chief
name.
Hopper
and
Joyce?
they were
Joyce?
yeah,
Joyce.
and Chief Harper were walking through the Upside Down. They found some eggs.
Right, and they kind of passed by them. They flashed their
Yeah.
flashlight really quickly. It looked like the alien egg. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think, again, I keep coming back to this James Cameron thing because I
Absolutely.
do think it's bigger than they're saying. That I think if you want to amp it up, there's more monsters.
Yeah.
Right? It's a
Yeah,
monster
and
invasion of the town.
wasn't the Arnold Schwarzenegger in T2 was a different Terminator than in the original,
Yeah.
right?
What if they find a friendly monster?
What if there are some nice monsters? Yeah, that could be. Maybe
yeah.
that's the Polywog.
Oh man, maybe Steve could start dating a monster since he got
Oh,
ditched.
yeah.
I'm
Or
just
maybe
saying.
Jonathan could, since he, since he
Be
doesn't
so
have.
romantic.
Yeah, because
good.
they would the monster would understand him.
Exactly. Well, cool. Let's get to more of your guys' questions. Keep sending them in. Facebook.com/TV Guide or hashtag TVG Live on Twitter. Sarah on Twitter asks, do you think we'll get any guest celeb appearances on the show?
Yeah, I think
do?
we could see Ben Schwartz as John Ralphio John Ralphio Saperstein from Parks and Rec, because that was it's now canon that Steve is Jean Ralphio's real father, because they have the same hair, they're from the same region in Indiana. Yeah, so Steve's his father, Nancy is his mother.
I thought it was really weird that one time when Steve said, "Money, Daddy." That was really strange, but now it all makes sense. There we go. Celeb appearances, honestly, would be a little weird, I think.
Yeah, I don't think that's in the world of this show, you know?
Yeah, but if we're talking about somebody in the lines of Winona Ryder or a Matthew Modine, is there some other star of that type you'd want to see show up?
Steve Guttenberg. That's actually like exactly who it would be, right?
Yeah, as the head of the police
Yeah.
academy. That would be incredible.
Yeah. Or what if it was like Henry Thomas or somebody? Like you wouldn't even recognize him. It
Yeah.
would just sort of be like a little wink to the fans.
Yeah, I think that would be great. I'm always a huge fan of resuscitating people's careers,
Yeah.
and I think not that Winona Ryder or Matthew Modine were doing badly, but I think seeing them in this new light
Yeah,
that would
totally.
really help them a lot, so that would be cool. Cool, so keep sending in your questions. Let's talk about everybody else.
Sure.
Everybody else. There were a lot of cliffhangers left at the end of season 1. We've touched on some of them already. But let's talk about Will. One of
Yeah.
the weirdest things that happened, almost came out of nowhere, except it makes a lot of sense, is Will, when he finally comes back, he's happy, he's having dinner, excuses himself to the bathroom, and when he gets to the bathroom, starts coughing up slugs.
Yeah.
What do you think's going on there?
I think there's some lingering after effects of being in the Upside Down, obviously. But maybe he's been body snatched, you know? Maybe he's not the Will we thought we knew, or he's not Will at all. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe Will is the villain of season 2.
That would be really interesting.
Yeah.
And I do think if we're going with the alien thing, you had that alien egg, he's in the alien cave, he had the thing down his throat. Clearly he can access the Upside Down,
Yeah.
which is something up to this point only 11 was really able to do. So seeing Dark Will, particularly because we don't know a lot about him, would be really interesting.
Totally.
Let's talk about Chief Hopper. Chief Hopper had some interesting stuff going on, made a deal, ended up going in a very mysterious car towards the end of the episode, other than leaving Eggo waffles. What do you think's going on with him? Who has he made a deal with, and what is that deal?
I don't remember the exact details of what he said, but it was something like, I think it was like to protect somebody, like he kind of was giving somebody information to protect somebody else. I don't know.
I think he was just having them leave the kids alone.
Yeah.
Right? So he's going to work for Brenner's organization in some way.
Yeah.
But why would they need him?
Because he's fearless, maybe, because he's such a good investigator. And because they want to keep him quiet, because he knows all this stuff now, you know?
Yeah, we haven't really talked about, did we talk about the Lost Brother and your theory that...
No, we didn't talk about the Lost Brother.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that could tie in. So you were saying, what was your theory about
Yeah,
Lost
I think
Brother?
one of the 4 new characters is another kid who was in the whatever program that 11 was part of. So it could be 11's biological brother. It could be just another, kid who got kidnapped or something. But maybe it's his kid. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I'm just thinking that Chief Hopper being a good investigator, that
Yeah.
would be a good person to send after 11's brother
Yeah.
while we're fanfic writing the second season.
Yeah.
And the last one, Dr. Brenner. Now, this is an interesting thing. The Duffer Brothers did an interview a little while ago talking about the fates of certain characters. They did say, yes, Barb is dead. Sorry, she's not coming back. But Brenner, even though he faced down with the monster, isn't dead. They said they wanted to provide resolution to the storyline in the series, but killing him off screen wouldn't be satisfying, so he's coming back. So now that we know he's not dead, what's next for Brenner? What are his plans? What's going to happen with him?
Yeah, I haven't even. I kind of assumed he was dead. So like, I don't really know. I don't even really know what would be the next thing for him. So I think maybe. I don't know, just trying to protect himself, I guess would be his thing. You know, try to, because whatever it was he was doing, if word gets out, he's going to be in some trouble. So he's going to be trying to protect himself. Maybe continuing to, you know, he's got to find these kids now, and you know, make sure they don't speak, they don't talk about him.
Yeah, there we go. All right, we'll have to see what happens. We're going to see what happens when we get to a couple of your questions. So facebook.com/TV Guide, hashtag TVG Live on Twitter. All right, Jessica on Twitter asks, how cool would it be to have a Stranger Things X-Files crossover? You say not that cool? I don't know. I think that would be fun. To me, that's the sort of thing. I think the first day that Stranger Things come out, I'm friends with a lot of comic book artists and writers on Twitter, and all of them were like, hey, can I draw the Stranger Things comic book, please? Can that happen?
Yeah.
So that's the sort of thing I would love to see in a comic book. I think it would be fun, but I don't know if I actually physically want to see it.
Yeah, I mean, we're mixing decades there if we do that.
Yeah, they could be babies, baby Mulder. That'd be nice. Jay on Twitter asks, will we hear more epic music on the show just like The Clash?
Like The Clash? Oh yeah, I think yeah, totally. I think if it's going 1984, they got to have the Smiths. The Smiths first album came out in 1984. Jonathan's gonna love the Smiths, man.
There's your celebrity cameo. They go to a Smiths concert and monsters attack all over the place. That would be awesome and kind of weird. Michael on Twitter says, do you think the 11 and E.T. are related?
Yeah, I think so. I think eventually she's gonna pick up a phone and say, 11 phone home. I'm just gonna say it. She's gonna, when she reunites with, I mean, isn't that what she said when she was getting sucked into the Upside Down? Didn't she turn back and say, I'll be right here?
Yeah, she did. That's weird.
Yeah.
I didn't notice that.
So I think they're actually the same.
Yeah, E.T. is the lost brother.
E.T. is the lost brother.
There
yeah,
we
he's
go.
coming back. He's
No, but I mean, just to be totally serious, it's a visual reference, but I think there's no actual relationship. Real quick, we'll run through a couple of others before we run out of time. Barbara on Facebook asks, we see Dr.
Barb, shout
Martin
out to
Brenner. Barb, we see Dr. Martin Brenner, or what happened to him. Yes.
Yeah, he's coming back.
Yeah, Nat on Facebook says, if Barb isn't coming back, will someone at least acknowledge that she's dead?
They better. I mean, it would be really wrong for them to not acknowledge it.
Yeah, what if they're doing like a Weekend at Bernie's type thing, where they have Barb's corpse?
That'd be really gross, because she looked terrible as a corpse. She was really,
desiccated.
Really desiccated. She had didn't she have like some sort of like thing coming out of her mouth? I was like, ooh, that's gross. I don't like that.
All right, we have time for one more. I've taken a glance at this, but this seems like a really massive theory, so let's see.
Okay.
What do you think of this theory? Dr. Brenner has powers as well. He's not just persuasive, he's actually using mind control to influence people. Also, that's how he survived the monster.
I could see that. I don't like that theory. I think it would be, again, I think that would be changing the rules of the show too much. But it could certainly be true. I don't know if he's necessarily mind controlling people, but I think maybe he has his own analog in the Upside Down. Like he has his own monster.
With black hair.
With black hair, yeah. And a little mustache.
There we go. Everybody in Mirror Dimensions always has mustaches and goatees. That's a rule.
Yeah.
There you go. The monster. There's a monster with like a top hat in our dimension, and it has a mustache.
Yeah.
And it's like, hello, I'm a monster. There we go. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Liam, thank you so much for being here. We'll have plenty more on Stranger Things leading up to the debut in 2017. Also, we're here every single weekday, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Tomorrow, we're going to have Carly from Chowhound is going to be here, one of our favorite people. She's going to be teaching us how to make different recipes from You're the Worst, including trash juice and breakfast tater tot nachos. So if you want to see a cooking demonstration that's going to get messy and gross, please tune in for that. Or if you just want to hear us talk You're the Worst, tune in for that. For you guys, thank you so much again for tuning in. The world of TV is very complicated. We'll guide you through it. See you next time.